JBN, we keep you informed. Businesswoman shot in St. Thomas. A St. Thomas businesswoman remains hospitalized after being shot at her house in Duane Pen yesterday morning. The police report that about 8:20, a man who was wearing a mask entered her yard and asked for her husband. The businesswoman, who was standing behind a door to her premises, reportedly asked the man why he wanted to speak with her husband. He reportedly stated that he was there on behalf of someone else. The businesswoman then reportedly indicated that her husband was not home. A further verbal exchange ensued, and the man then reportedly pulled a gun and opened fire, hitting the businesswoman in her lower body and the shoulder. She was subsequently rushed to the hospital, where she's been treated. The police say they recovered 4 spent shells and bullet fragments at the scene, as well as noticed 5 bullet holes in the front door of the businesswoman's house. Man in custody for murder in Westmoreland. One man was arrested after the body of 28-year-old Aldon Fearing, otherwise called Bling, a mechanic of Chesterfield, Westmoreland, was found in the community on Thursday, May 14. Reports from the Bethel Town Police are that about 8:40 p.m., Fearing left home, but he did not return. Relatives went in search of him and found his feet amputated and his body with several chop wounds. The police were summoned, the scene processed, and the body removed to the morgue. Following investigations, the suspect was arrested. His identity has been withheld pending further investigations. Brothers shot by thugs. One man is now dead, and his older brother admitted to hospital after they were shot at the cook shop they operated in Norwood, St. James on Thursday. The deceased man has been identified as 25-year-old Clayton Grant of Norwood Gardens. Reports by the Montego Hills Police are that about 1:30 p.m. the siblings, who operate the Cool Oasis cook shop at the entrance to their home in Norwood Gardens, were selling steamed fish and cooked crab to customers when a man walked up to the establishment. He brandished a handgun and opened fire, hitting the brothers multiple times before making his escape on foot in the area. The police were summoned, and upon arrival, the brothers were rushed to hospital, where Grant, who was shot in the head, was pronounced dead, and his brother admitted in serious condition. 5 found guilty in $4 million Manchester MC fraud case. 5 of 7 defendants in the $400 million Manchester Municipal Corporation fraud case were this afternoon found guilty in the Manchester Parish Court. Senior employees at the corporation, Sanjay Elliott, David Harris, Kendall Roberts, and Dwayne Sibley's, were convicted of conspiracy to defraud the local government authority. They were also found guilty of breaching the country's Corruption Prevention Act. The judgment was handed down by Senior Parish Judge Anne-Marie Granger in an historic live streaming from the James Warehouse Plaza, Mandeville Town Centre, which was also transmitted on the Ministry of Justice's website. Sanjay Elliott's wife, Tasha Gay Goldburn Elliott, was also found guilty of facilitating the retention of criminal property. Meanwhile, Elliott's mother and bank teller Radcliffe McLean were freed of charges. Harris, Sibley's, Roberts, Elliott, and Elliott's wife are to be sentenced on July 27 this year. Clarendon wanted man captured, 9 others at large. The Clarendon police on Thursday captured one of the parish's most wanted men. George Francis, otherwise called Wentico, of Blackwood and Summerfield districts in Clarendon, was wanted for rape and grievous sexual assault. The police urged the other men who were still at large to turn themselves in immediately and reminded citizens that it is a criminal offense to harbor or create a safe haven for criminals. Those still wanted: Leon Rose, otherwise called Hitler and Diggs, 25-year-old of Effortville in Maple, Clarendon, is wanted for murder. Fitzroy Core, otherwise called OJ, 25, of Alexander Drive, Clarendon, is wanted for murder. Delroy Brockett, otherwise called Little D, 18-year-old of Haysfield, Racecourse, Clarendon, is wanted for murder. And Teeny Powell, otherwise called Neville, 17-year-old of Haysfield, Racecourse, Clarendon, he is wanted for murder. Dwayne Butler, otherwise called Tez, 42-year-old of Farm District, Maple, Clarendon, he is wanted for murder. Zemar Nelson, otherwise called Dylan and Terminator Boy, 25-year-old of Buzzrock, Effortville, Clarendon, is wanted for murder and shooting with intent. Steve Francis, 37-year-old of Sunset Crescent Footpath, Clarendon, is wanted for murder and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. Romaine Murray, otherwise called John Tom, 18-year-old of Comfort District, Clarendon, is wanted for 2 counts of shooting with intent. And Panif Bloomfield, otherwise called Chang, 23-year-old of Buzzrock, Effortville, Clarendon, is wanted for shooting with intent and robbery with aggravation. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of these men is being asked to contact the Mappin Criminal Investigation Branch at 876-832-2077. Crime Stop at 311, Police 119 emergency number, or the nearest police station. Government needs to plan for the arrival of cruise ship workers, says PMP's Fitz Jackson. Opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson is calling on the government to prioritize and plan adequately for the arrival of the 1,044 Jamaican cruise ship workers who are due to return to the island on Sunday, May 17, on board the Royal Caribbean Adventure of the Seas cruise liner. Jackson said this is necessary to avoid potential chaos and health risks if the proper protocols are not observed. In a statement yesterday, Jackson said he had raised the concern with the Prime Minister during the sitting of Parliament on Tuesday, but did not receive a satisfactory response. Jackson said now that more details are available, he was demanding that a comprehensive plan to bring these countrymen safely to port and the process be prepared ahead of their landing, because their nearly 2 months being stranded on the seas is already enough of an ordeal to tolerate. Jackson said he has learned that the government does not have the quarantine capacity for such a large influx, and as a result, the return of the Jamaicans is now threatened. He said the government had had more than enough time to prepare for the return of these Jamaicans, and action is needed now to find the places to ensure that they are not turned back or left to languish further at sea. He said the government needs to put in place all the necessary facilities to welcome home these Jamaican workers to appropriate and humane quarantine facilities, which should be in place before their arrival. It cannot be beyond our government to prepare for these hard-working Jamaicans who have been at sea earning a livelihood to sustain their families, he said. Jackson reiterated that there should be no repeat of the Morello Discovery 2 debacle when Jamaicans were refused entry to their own country. Not worth the money. Wife laments stubborn farmer as Jamaican COVID-19 cases in Canada double. If she were allowed to have her own way, Mildred's, not her real name, husband, would not have traveled to Canada on the Overseas Farm Work Program this year, as he has been doing for the past 19 years. However, her pleas were ignored, and now her worst fear came to pass yesterday. She was informed that he had contracted COVID-19 and is now isolated at the farm where he works. He is among the 3,000 Jamaican farm worker COVID-19 cases in the North American country. Me tell him same no figure because the risk no worth the money, but him no listen. We could rough it out somehow, she said. Her objection to his travel plans caused strain on their relationship of almost 3 decades, but she believes that his pride in always providing for his family was the motivating factor for his decision to honor his contract that Green Hill produced this year. All I can tell you is that he sent me a message that he is among 17 Jamaicans that tested positive for COVID, but I can only tell our eldest child. Not being able to be near him or get immediate updates make it very difficult. When the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Colette Roberts-Risden, was contacted, she confirmed that additional lab-confirmed cases of COVID-19 had emerged among the migrant workers at the rural Ontario-based greenhouse operation over the last 48 hours. The total Jamaicans, including the first set, who have tested positive is 36, Roberts-Risden said. The 17 from the first set have recovered and have returned to work. However, 2 more Jamaicans tested positive on May 2 and another 17 on May 13. Green Hill Produce is a leading producer of sweet peppers with 86 acres of high-tech greenhouses, supported by a labor pool of nearly 250 workers, including 111 migrant workers from Guatemala, Jamaica, and Mexico. Of the number, 67 of the migrant workers are Jamaicans. According to Canadian media reports, the second outbreak has resulted in the retesting of all employees by Chatham-Kent Public Health as a precaution. Canada has recorded more than 73,000 SARS-CoV-2 cases and almost 5,500 related deaths. Approximately half of those who have tested positive have recovered. I do hope that the Ministry of Labour, through the Liaison Service, is ensuring that all these farm workers who have contracted the coronavirus are being treated well and are being attended to, said Horace Daly, the opposition spokesman on Labour, yesterday. Mildred said that her husband has never complained of poor treatment by the management of the family-owned operation and shares a good relationship with his superiors. I'm not worried about his welfare. They do take care of him. COVID is my problem and not being able to be with him, she said. A total of 69 employees have been infected as a result of the outbreak. Of those, 50 have fully recovered and are back at work. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember, subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.